Yesterday you spoke of God also as silence and space and stillness. Do you think silence can heal?
You are asking some good questions. Can silence heal? Well, I think again we must qualify that by recognizing that there are many people at different levels, you see. I've got a sister, and she's not comfortable with silence at all. In fact, when we were younger, she used to be really cross with me. She says, "Why can't you just be ordinary? Why can't you just talk? What's the matter with you?" Now we're older, we're more sort of tolerant and understanding of each other, thank God. But see, lots of people are like that. They must switch on the radio or be perpetually talking. They find silence is emptiness. Whereas to me, silence is fullness. Fullness of, yes, it's fullness, believe it or not. We say empty talk, don't we? It's a common phrase. Chattering on about nothing in particular. Can silence heal? Well, it does me. Nothing makes me feel better than just sitting quietly out in a garden. I don't want to talk to anybody. Just to take that question a bit further, well, we could open up the whole question of healing, but it's a big subject. Do you want to venture onto those waters?
Let's go.
Let's go, eh? So healing. Well, once again, let's recognize that different people, and maybe different people watching these videos, would identify their needs in different ways. And that there are these levels of perception, levels of understanding of all these great questions. When I was 26, I went to South America to make the world a better place. And I don't think I was very successful. But I learned many lessons out there. And one of them, I was sitting on a mountainside, feeling I was rather an immature young man, trying to help people older and wiser than me, the local Indians, the Andean Indians that I was living amongst. And from somewhere a little voice said to me, to make whole, be whole. To make whole, be whole. Actually, as I sit here now and look out at this lovely horizon, I suppose it's a situation rather similar to that of all those years ago, sitting on top of the Andes, looking at the great view spread out around me, where these words were said to me. When I look at the greatness of what is before me, with the distant mountains and the sky, I feel drawn into bigness that is something beyond me, in which I completely forget about my aches and pains, or even the fact that I've got a body, really. Is healing just a matter of forgetting that we're in pain or forgetting that we're ill? Well, at this moment now, it does appear like that, really. Of course, when you're lying in bed at home, suffering something wrong with your body, it's not really like that. To make whole, be whole. Anyway, we've got to think in terms of where we are in relation to this question. To make whole. I know how to describe it. Look, when I look at the horizon, it's as though a third point comes into the situation. Here we are, here's you, or here's me. Or here is me and my painful something. Now there's this or that, a situation of black and white, pain or not pain. And we think in terms of making the pain better. But if we make one pain better, tomorrow we'll have another one, don't we? If we cure cancer today, tomorrow we'll die of something else. So, where do we get to? This is healing in terms of duality, which is really, spiritually speaking, incomplete. And that's why we never get the world right, and that's why I, as a young man, couldn't put South America right, because I was trying to do it by planting more trees to control erosion, to grow more food, to make the world a better place. But of course, it's not so simple. And sitting up there on the mountain top, being stretched into the vastness of the sky, just as I am today, here now, you see there comes in this higher dimension of faith that pulls me out of this dual situation. And in fact, not so much pulls me out of it, but completes it. There now, that's the word. It completes it. And so the emphasis on this or that diminishes within the comfort of the whole. That's how it works. And you see, when you stop fighting, and that really draws you into a condition of letting go. Because instead of worrying to get that right or put that right, you're drawn in up there, and so naturally your fingers relax. You let go naturally. And that's really half of what healing really is, isn't it? You let go. You relax. The pain releases. The stress goes out of a situation. The labeling that it's wrong, you can accept it. You immediately feel better, don't you? Now then you ask, does silence heal? Now, look at that horizon in the sky. Is it making a noise? Isn't it silent? Here now, this silent embraces us, doesn't it? I was speaking of the love of God, wasn't I? Isn't this silence that literally embraces us here and now really love? The love, spiritual love, or the love of God? And where does silence end? And space, or freedom, or peace? God, begin and end. They're all really words for the same thing, aren't they? Just sort of what we draw out of it in a particular mood. Does silence heal? But my dears, there's the answer. Here am I, an old man, yet in that infinitude I'm also infinite, am I? So what happens to the limitations of the flesh? What happens to the limit of knowing that I've only got another 5-10 years to live? It is meaningless, isn't it? Because he just melts away before the sunshine of this spiritual before spirit. Does faith heal? Absolutely it does, if you can open sufficiently, you see, to let this in. Just, you see, look, here's a mug that I was drinking my tea out of recently. Just imagine I put the mug like that. Now just up in the sky, here above the roof, the sun's shining. Look, I'll put the mug where the sun's shining. But inside the mug, the sun can't get in, can it? Oh, sorry, I'll hold it like that. Now, what do? If I turn it like that, the sun can come in, can't it? Now, there we are, dears. Look, if I hold on to things like this, oh, I must sort out this terrible world, or I must get better, I must cure myself in some way, this grace can't really get in, because I, as a separate ego, John, has anywhere taken over responsibility for curing myself. Or the AI, a doctor, is going to use his limited knowledge to make me better, maybe. But if I do that, now look, this infinite can flow in, can't it? So this is what we call letting go. Now just imagine that taking place in your heart. Here's your closed heart, where you're just sort of worrying about the ambulance is going to come and get you sorted out. And here is this open heart in complete trust, in surrender, in literally melting into the unlimited mercy. That's how God is described, most merciful God. Which just really is so much greater than anything of this sort of lower level of existence which we call humanity, really, and ordinary life, and you and me, this world of separate existence where we're absent from the presence of God. It's an interesting fact that Jesus walked this world for, as far as we know, a few years, and he never healed anyone unless he was asked. Those that came to him and asked him. So there was no shortage of people dying of all sorts of troubles and things. But unless they asked, they turned to him, in other words, with faith. You see, that healing couldn't work. So really that applies to all that I'm talking about. If you feel some response to it, well then, because I'm feeling so much better myself just listening to you like this. I'm taking it right out of any troubles that I may have had. But unless if you just write it all off as gobbledygook and nonsense, well, don't be surprised if you stay where you are. I've wandered about a lot on this question, so I hope you can follow what I've said. You probably notice I'm looking in this direction because that's where this lovely skyline is. And the second part of that quotation is, I will lift up mine eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help. From whence cometh my help. Amen to that. Now I think I better stop. Wait for the next question.
How can we make peace with what takes our peace away?
Well, if I knew that answer long ago, I might have saved myself a lot of trouble. I'm not sure that we can really until we're ready to. Think of me as a young man going to South America to make the world a better place. I had to learn many lessons after that. How can I make peace with what takes my peace away? Well, if I was to give you an answer as I feel it at this moment now, would it apply to all the listeners in their various states and ages and conditions that are listening to me? Perhaps not. An absolutely sure principle of all spiritual work is to be present. That's why I persistently come back to feet on the ground. Feel your feet on the ground. It's such a simple, basic, common sense thing to do. Because usually peace implies some sort of agitation, doesn't it? Disturbance in the mind. And the blessed earth beneath our feet is, in contrast, still. So, feeling that anchor beneath our feet immediately brings a steadiness into the situation. Oh, there goes that butterfly again. Yellow one this time. Be here now. Well, there's an example, perfect example. You see, a butterfly flies past. Immediately I look at that and I've forgotten about all my troubles, haven't I? There's the answer. But see, that's why we need something, an alternative, something we love, something that just pulls us out of it. Well, if we're not lucky enough to have a butterfly on a sunny morning, we might have to use something a bit more artificial, like do the washing up with attention, or listen to something we like listening to. Because actually peace is really synonymous with freedom. And in the purest sense, it's synonymous with love too. That butterfly, what effect did it have on me? It gave me a sort of mix of all sorts of things, happiness, joy, just made me laugh, and it was joy. It lifts us up, doesn't it, into a higher dimension. We fall from paradise. There you go, that was a moment of paradise, wasn't it? The butterfly. What happens? We lose that pristine, momentary, pure attention. Wonderful. We come back into, oh dear, what should I say next? Or, how do I answer this difficult question? And so the confusions come in. We lose our peace. Well, it seems easy this morning, just sitting here in the garden, but of course it isn't always. We just need to practice, practice, practice. Eventually, if we're fortunate, we may lose our peace, to begin with, less often. I think that's what's happened to me. Just over the years I've become more peaceful, gradually, step by step. Less disturbed by less things in the world. More able to just accept them. And even see the reason and the order and the lawfulness behind it all. Come to trust more. Have more faith in higher authority and less faith in myself. That was certainly a big step. Less of me, the more of God. There we are.
Where there is me, there's misery.
There's me, there's misery. Puts it.
You said also that we don't really have to know what to do. So what are we doing? What are we doing here? Or why? Why are we here?
Why are we here? How have I found my way here? What on earth am I doing sitting in a garden in Portugal? How's it happened? We don't have to know. But of course, when we're young and we're engrossed in knowledge, we're being educated, we think it's terribly important to know, don't we? We work terribly hard reading books to know. Exams depend on knowing. And here am I, sitting here saying, we don't have to know.
The less you know.
The less you know, the better. Well, the less you know, the easier it is to trust the one who knows. Well, you see, I don't know. This is the point. It's always the me. I don't know. John Butler doesn't know. But God knows. That's the difference. And when your mind begins to function in this way, that's really when it's the less you know, the better. Because then you can trust more, and it becomes more easy to make the transition from trusting in me to trusting in the one who knows better, which is God. But you've got to be at the stage of life where we can do that. And we have to grow into it gradually.
Is that real freedom to surrender to God and...
That is real freedom. That is real freedom. Ultimately we come to realize this, yes, by eliminating all lesser possibilities, the ones that work for a while, but then work no longer. See, everything that dies, or dies out, or fails eventually, is part of this absence from God. That's why we die. That's why things fail. Because we've moved away from the eternal life, the absolute life, and the infallible nature of God into the fallible world. We've separated ourselves from providence, from abundance, into poverty. This is why, even if we have enough money, we're poor in other ways. You're poor in spirit. You don't never have enough love or enough freedom or enough beauty or something in your life. It's all because we've turned away from the one, the third point, as it were, that makes it whole, that makes the whole Trinity, the whole law of three whole, the whole threefold nature of creation. So we're living like a car going at, with only half its cylinders. We're not fully functioning. If we live in this world of this and that, which of course this wears out and that only works for so long, and then it doesn't work. So we lose. In spirit there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to gain, because it's complete. As you can feel here, if you come into the present and just melt into this invisible presence, which is even greater than the sky and the sunshine holding us. It helps to sort of melt into the sky first and then go beyond the sky into the boundlessness of beyond. And there, these questions, they just melt away, don't they? Can't even remember what the question was now. Because one's home, complete. This is where we've come from, and home, where we belong.
Place where we came from has flowers and animals, birds and butterflies.
From time to time, I can't really answer this question, but I can answer it. In words, and perhaps you can see by the broad smile on my face how I'm answering that question, because in a way it's so much more than just yes that it makes me just sort of burst out in joy. Because you see, this world is a shadow of divine origin. Look, if you look at my face, well, am I looking in, the sun's hidden by this roof, but perhaps my face is in light now. I'm going to pull the microphone too far, but as I turn around, my face is in shade, isn't it? Now this is what we've done. I've demonstrated this before on YouTube. I'm going to be pulled over there by this microphone. Anyway, you see.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay.
When we turn away from the spiritual sunshine, which you can call God, then we're in shade. And then we create this world. And the whole world is tainted by our own shaded vision. So we see flowers and all these beautiful things of the world, and my God, they are beautiful. No one questions that. But we're still seeing them with eyes of darkness. And when you turn back to the light, it's not that there's another world there, but this world is then seen in its glory. And that's the traditional word to describe. We go from glory to glory. And this is what happens when we go back home and turn home. Everything becomes more glorious. That's why I got this big grin on my face, because it's just more glorious. Everything is. The grass, everything, dear. There's nothing wrong with this creation at all, except that we see it with eyes of darkness. It's we, the only thing that's wrong with this world is me. And all I've got to do is just turn back to the light. Turn back to the one. Lift my eyes to the horizon. It's as simple as that.
How can you teach us how to be as vibrant as you?
Make as many mistakes as I have. And, oh dear, I don't know.
But life didn't take away the brilliance from your eyes.
Well, nice of you to say that. How can I not be happy on a morning like this? Talking about what I love. It's a long plod, it is. I started to meditate when I was 26 years old, and I'm now 82. And I just kept practicing, just plodding along. Twice a day, every day. I've hardly missed a handful. Through all my ups and downs, I've had some terrible times in life. I've lost a lot. Had many years of depression. I used to think I was the most unhappy man in creation. Now I'm one of the happiest. I wonder why we are put on this earth for 80 odd years. Why don't we just, why can't we just learn this lesson at school and then we don't have to continue any longer? Why can't we go straight to glory? I think really this life is probably a school of life. We've got to go through its lessons. Fight the good fight. I think there's that lovely old hymn, to be a pilgrim, fight the good fight with all thy might. There are lots of old classic books that describe the long process of being a pilgrim, facing the monsters of this world, fear, loneliness, happiness in so many forms, unhappiness in so many forms. This world is often called a vale of tears, isn't it? The valley of the shadow of death. But we have a comforter, we have such belief as we have, and somehow we seem to be guided through. We don't know how, really. Well, if these videos help to give encouragement to others on the long way, well, I hope they do.
Is your life your prayer?
Well, actually, yes. At this moment now, yes, it is. Exactly that. Gosh, I'm surprised at your question, surprised at that answer. Somewhere along this long path of growing out of separate me into the greatness of the infinite, you begin to realize that the so-called troubles of the world are actually, you can begin to see why they arise and the cause of why they are as they are, just as I was demonstrating at the last question, because we are turned away from the light, so we separate ourselves from the abundance and providence, and so we suffer deficiency and illness and eventually die. So when we turn back this way and begin to see things the right way round, all right, news comes through that somebody's died. Well, inwardly, you know they haven't. Somebody's ill, inwardly you know they're perfectly okay. Some terrible event, everything's wrong. You know nothing's wrong. All is well. It's like a sort of automatic thing that goes on in my mind. Maybe my heart, I don't know where it goes on, but this sure knowledge that God's in his heaven and all's right with the world. You see, does the sun see shadow? No. No, you shake your head. The sun sees no shadow. Does the infinite see limitation? No. Obvious, isn't it? Does God see evil? Whatever God is, whatever we mean by that. You see, that's the question. You see, more light, less dark. It's as simple as that, isn't it? You go into a dark room and switch on the light. Where's the dark? What happens to the dark? Less me, more God. More God, less dark. So you asked, your question was, is my life my prayer? Well, yes, I have no need to sort of sit down and say, God, please make someone better, because it's automatic. When you're not as confident to say what I've just said, then of course you do. Then of course you turn and you probably feel you have to address God as my Father in heaven, and this is how we start on this journey. Our Father which art in heaven, and then you probably have a list of requests to make things better in some way. Then perhaps we move on from that a bit to recognize, to ask for mercy. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. That's a very traditional prayer. You're turning to God for help. You're recognizing that I'm in a mess and I need help from someone, from a higher authority. And then, in a way, you grow out of that and you sort of just, like today, you just sort of melt into the sky, melt into spirit. Then you don't need to use any words. You just, your life becomes your prayer. Or prayer rather melts into just being here now. Being oneself, being here. And perfection is all everywhere, isn't it? What is not perfect? Complete. It sort of completes the circle, didn't I? About an hour ago, I think I was talking about to make whole, be whole. So it's taken me most of my life to try to understand that, but I really do feel I'm getting near what it's all about. See, to make whole, be whole, to melt into. It's not that I'm really going to make, well, this is not really a process of making John Butler into this, but because somehow John Butler sort of melts away, or expands, perhaps a better word. He just grows out of, that's right, John Butler just grows out of that limited me, John Butler, and it sort of grows out of it into this, and then, you know, rather like you grow out of being a child. It's just sort of there, you look back with a smile, but you've grown into something bigger now. So that to make whole, be whole, well, of course, in this this is wholeness, this is one. What? Holy God, we call it, don't we? Holy God, Holy Almighty. The holiness of God. To make whole, be whole. And lo and behold, that radiance permeates everywhere, doesn't it? Except, of course, hearts, the closed hearts, that continue to live like this. If we don't open up our hearts, we can live in darkness, continue there. Close the window, draw the curtains. Me. I want to be me. Well, we're free, it happens. We can do that if we want. We have the choice of bondage, slavery, or freedom. Yes, absolutely. Life becomes my prayer. Thank you so much for those good questions, really good questions. You see how I've enjoyed myself. I'm sorry I've gone on for so long.